All right, I think it's a good moment to start. Actually, I see a lot of people with their cameras off. This will actually be more of an interactive session. It would be nice to see your faces if you can. You don't have to. I think Jan will be okay just listening to your voices. But I have the pleasure to introduce Jan Jansen. He retired last year from the European Forum of Logistics Education, but is filling in for the three ladies that you see on the screen, their names, who couldn't make it today, but in replacement sent a great ambassador for the European Forum of Logistics Education. And without further ado, I'd like to give up the floor to Mr. Jan Jansen.
Thank you very much. Yeah, as already mentioned, the session is a little bit interactive, so I don't have a great many slides, but a lot to tell. And if you like to have discussion about, well, whatever topic I've prepared, you're more than welcome, but also talk about other topics. It's about EFLE, and EFLE stands for the European Forum of Logistics Education. And as you can see on the slide, it was established in the early 1990s. So it's for more than 30 years active. And it is in fact, like one of my colleagues, Nick Hubbard mentioned from Huddersfield, a bunch of people meeting every year. And that's still the strong point. But the last 5 years, we also decided we would like to have a little bit more legal status. So last year, the association was established. So we now officially an association. According to Dutch law, we are a so-called vereniging. And we have now also a board. Before, let's say, last year, I was more or less the board. But it's of course not good, because if you retire, then the forum collapse, and that's not good. So we are very happy that this didn't happen. And we have now a chair from Finland, Daniela Tanua. She's from SAMP University of Applied Sciences in Rauma. We have a colleague from Han University, where I also originate from, Nienke Hofstra. She is having the role as a secretary, and she wrote a PhD in the field of the human part of logistics, if I summarize it very shortly. And we have Sophia Pasbeck from Belgium, from Artevelde Hogeschool in Ghent, Belgium. And she is developing interesting stuff about so-called associate degrees in Belgium. And that's also one of the topics I would like to discuss with you. But first, a little bit more about the forum. Do you see some faces? Well, the face you see right away on top, that's me, teaching about supply chain finance somewhere in Europe, calculating an effective annual rate, as you can see on the blackboard. On the left-hand side, we have Daniela Tanua from the University of SAMP in Finland, Nienke Hofstra from Han University, Arnhem-Nijmegen in the Netherlands, and Sophia Pasbeck from Ghent University in Belgium. And they play an important role in the board. There are some other members, one from Germany, and again one from the Netherlands. So in totally the number is 5. But those 3, they asked me to tell a little bit about the forum and about some topics of the forum. So that's why I will continue. I'm a member of merit of EFLE, so I'm not anymore an active member, because I don't work at the university anymore. But I was honored to be a member of merit. So that's why I'm also very happy to tell you a little bit about the forum today. And I hope we will have a talk during this meeting about the forum and maybe about your ideas. On the website, you can see the official goal of the association. We have also a beautiful long sentence in Dutch language, but I didn't copy that one. So this is the more, let's say, nice one to read. We would like to realize international awareness and knowledge sharing between the members, but also between our clients, the students. And we do that in the field of logistics, transport, and supply chain management. We use those three because they cover the best we think about what is meant with logistics. So those three fields, but maybe in future there will be additional fields linked to that. Important because it's a form of logistics education. We try to assist with curriculum development. Just to give you two examples how we did that in the past. University of Indonesia in Bandung, they were going to start with a logistics program, and the professor in charge, Professor Senator, he had 2 times the possibility to talk in the forum about his program and to get feedback from us. And we did the same about 4 or 5 years ago with one of our friends, the Chelyabinsk State University, to establish their program in supply chain management / logistics. But we did it also on, let's say, on the level of curriculum development with partners. And especially we see now things going on in, for instance, in data science, but also in supply chain finance, for instance. And for that we use projects, informal projects, and we do hope to get subsidized projects in future. So that's why we are also now a association. And one of our, let's say, projects we had last year was online learning. And I will come on that in a few moments. So you have some idea what we are doing. Are there maybe any questions? Because it's always a pitfall that when I'm in the presentation mode, that you're going to snore a little bit after your lunch. So I'm inviting you to, well, to ask me questions or to make remarks. Feel free.
There's nothing on the chat, Jan, but I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay, thank you. Just to have a look where our official members come from. You see that a lot is located around the Netherlands and Belgium and Germany, France, Denmark, and Finland. We used to have a very active informal member, Huddersfield University, Nick Hubbard. And I think also one of the colleagues from the university is there, I think. Isn't it, Christine?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, although I've moved on from Huddersfield, but yes.
All right.
Still in the UK.
Oh, you're still in the UK. Well, it gives maybe an opportunity for another membership besides Huddersfield. We will come on that. In Spain, we have also a friend in Madrid, University of Applied Science. The same in former Yugoslavia, Croatia especially. In Austria, in the Czech Republic. And we have now also one contact in Poland. And a little bit here, we have two contacts in Russia. So that's a bit the geography. So that's why it is the European form of logistics education, but we don't exclude colleagues from outside the EU. So be clear, they are welcome. Like I already told you, friends in Edmonton, in Canada, Nate, and the ITB Bandung in Indonesia.
On that note, Jan, Vanina has a comment / question. They say, hi, I'm a professor at the Federal University of Santa Catarina in Brazil. I would like to know how is the mechanism to develop projects and partnerships with EFL members?
That's a brilliant question. Thank you. What we can do is try to establish a first contact. So if you send an email, and I will, at the end, I will show you the email addresses to Nienke Hofstra, she's our secretary, then I think it is very easy to get in touch with each other. because logistics is, of course, not only, let's say, exclusive for Europe, it's very much global. And yeah, especially it's interesting to have in Latin America, let's say, a contact. To be honest, one of our articles about future competencies is translated into Spanish, unfortunately not Portuguese, but I know that people can relatively easily read Spanish as well. So that might be a first interesting contact to establish. So we definitely are very open for that. Is that an answer to your question? I think so, yes. All right, thank you.
Thumbs up, so I agree. I think it is.
You see here the logos of our universities. Well, in my best German, Rhein-Waal Fachhochschule, Breda University, Han University, Campus in France, Campus, I should say, probably, Promotron, Rotterdam University of Applied Science, Thomas More, Belgium, Artevelde, Belgium, IUT Chalon-sur-Saône in France, the Dania Academy near Copenhagen, SAMK in Rauma, Finland, Université Franche-Comté, Institut Besançon, and PXL University in Belgium again. And we hope that, of course, our members will increase so that we have a solid forum also for the future, where we can create beautiful things by sharing information with a lot of, let's say, members, colleagues from all over the world. So actually I have a small program which I discussed with my 3 colleagues, and they helped me a little bit. So I was prepared by them to try to present this and to have a discussion. The first one is future competences of logisticians and the impact on a future-proof curriculum. And this is one I mentioned already that is also available in Spanish, the publication. And here my colleague Nienke Hoofdstraten is, let's say, in charge. New developments in Belgium and Holland, the associate degree, the level 5. For the people outside of the EU, we have level 6, that's bachelor, level 7 is master's, and level 8 is PhD. And the associate degree is level 5, and that is after secondary school, mostly a 2-year program. And Sophia Pasbeck, she just made a curriculum for one of those programs. And the third one is about serious gaming and logistics. Well, that's maybe not so unlogic to mention during this setting here at InChange. As well, SAMK University in Finland, as Han University, you have a long tradition with the Cool Connection, the Fresh Connection, and the Blue Connection. And we played internationally the supply chain finance version, the Cool Connection between students of Han University and the SAMK University in Rauma in Finland. Well, that's the program I would like to discuss with you, but feel free to add new things to it or to interrupt me when I ever in the detailed of the information. Are there any, let's say, topics you would like to add? I'm just scanning around. Nothing in the
chat.
Box? Not yet, okay, but feel free to do. So let's have a talk first about those future competencies. We did together with a few universities research on this. That was, of course, SAMK University in Finland. That was Hogeschool Gent in Belgium, and it was Han University in the Netherlands. And I should not forget Instituut Universitaire Technologie in Vesoul in France. So those 4 did together the research. They performed the research, and we had a kind of, let's say, theoretical concept. So what are competences and stuff like that? What is published about that in all sorts of academic journals? We did that part of our research. We had the help of 3 students. And at the end, my colleague Nienke Hofstraat, she finished the, let's say, literature review and updated that to a more academic level. But then, of course, we also had an empirical part. So we were, let's say, checking what is happening in companies. And that was done about 2 years ago. And we did it in companies in France, region of Vesoul, Franche-Comté, near Flanders in Belgium, Hogeschool Ghent, the region around Rauma, that is the southwest of Finland. And we did it also in the eastern part of the Netherlands, in the region Arnhem-Nijmegen. From that input, that was a lot of qualitative input as well. So we had some interviews and stuff like that with people from HR departments or CEOs. We had a first idea what is happening, and well, what I tell you now a few years later is not so hot anymore. But at that moment, data science was a very hot topic. And I think it is still, especially if we listened a few moments ago to the brilliant lecture Eric gave about that for the Fresh Connection. A second thing is what came out are communication skills. Those are very important, especially in logistics supply chain management. The role of the financial part. And at the end, of course, the link with IT. So if you see those, let's say, output from the research coming from companies, but also from the literature review, we also implemented that in our curricula. So we see now that, well, I can only judge about the situation in the Netherlands and in Han University. We see that now in the bachelor major program, data science is implemented. Communication skills is implemented. And then we are not only talking about language education, but really how to communicate in a business environment. Also topics that we would mention like finance, management, accounting are implemented in the curriculum and updated. And we see that there is a stronger attention now in the curriculum, a specialization in the field of IT. So we had 1 or 2 courses about ERP and some data management, but that's now really upgraded in the Dutch stream. So we see that the research has influence on the development of the curriculum of a program. And what I know from my colleagues from Germany, and then I talk about Fachhochschule Jena, Université Vesoul in France, and in the curricula of Hogeschool Ghent, and the same for the Hogeschool Mechelen and Hasselt in Belgium. They also implemented new ideas that came out of this research. And every university did it in their own way, but we help them. If you look to the URL, and of course those slides are shared with you, but you can also make right away a picture and have a look at it. They can find it summarized in a article in English. And a while ago, we also got a translation into Spanish. And in the same website of ResearchGate, you can also find the Spanish translation.
We have a question here.
Yes, I was already worrying where are the questions.
It's a bit of an interesting one because I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it, but It says, can you please tell me if there are internship programs in logistics at the universities? Time of their passage, and how could I maybe provide, or it says, how can I get an internship? I'm assuming for your students, right? And please make sure, feel free to unmute yourself and chat.
I will try to give an answer on that, how we organize that at our university, but that might be different for other universities. Till my retirement, I worked for the research group of logistics at our university. And in this research group, we have all sorts of projects. And for that, we need often students, and especially students writing their graduation project. So we have students for all sorts of, let's say, interesting topics. Just to mention one, I had one for supply chain finance in the coffee sector in Vietnam with 2 students, a large project. I had also a project in the field of data science, a maturity scan for data science for SMEs, for small and medium-sized enterprises. Now, those are 2 examples, but we have a lot of other projects running in our research group. But that's always done, let's say, not only for the university, but always together with companies. Is that an answer to the question? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, and the person won't respond, so maybe they got up for a coffee.
Well, in that case, just mention that he or she can listen back to the recording.
Yes.
Are there more questions about how we, let's say, try to develop our curricula using, let's say, input from our research?
No questions.
Okay, because that's a really powerful, let's say, tool that you use, applied research for improving your curriculum in the bachelor program. Okay, I will switch to a next one. And that's a point that Sophia Pasbeck, my colleague from Belgium, from Hogeschool Gent, mentioned to me. She would like to talk about that a little bit. I think in the United States, there is a big, let's say, history already with so-called associate degrees, which are a program of 2 years higher education. It's quite new in the Netherlands, but also in Belgium. We have different names for it, but it's still the associate degree, the level 5 of education. So that's after secondary school. Secondary school is level 4. And then level 6 is the bachelor, and in between is the level 5, where we try to educate people, to train people in the field of logistics in more operational jobs. So for a lot of, let's say, practical issues, you don't need a bachelor with a 4-year, let's say, education. Some cases, a 2-year education is really enough. If you're talking about, for instance, warehouse management or transport planning, but it can also be operational purchase. For that, a 2-year degree is quite okay. In Belgium, for instance, they have a lot of, especially in the ports, a lot of procedures with bills of lading and linked, let's say, documents to that. And for that, they have constructed at Hogeschool Gent a associate degree. So it's a more practical degree of 2 years higher education, where you really fulfill the needs of the companies, with giving the students after graduating after 2 years the possibility to study further for their bachelor. And some do that, and some say, well, leave me for a few years and then I will re-enter after maybe 5 or 6 years. And it's a kind of sandwich program, which is also quite common in the UK. So that's the state of the art, how it is organized in the Netherlands and in Belgium. Maybe there are some questions, remarks about that, or let's say people that are interested. Please let us know. And in this case, Sophia is the contact person. I'm looking around a little bit. Okay. Then we'll switch over to the third topic. And that's maybe an interesting link also to this conference, because it's a conference organized by InChange to discuss all sorts of aspects of serious gaming. It's a nice example we had with SAMK, University of Applied Science in Finland, in the city of Rauma, and Han University. We are situated in 2 cities, Arnhem and Nijmegen, but our international school is situated in Arnhem. So our business students, international business students, they played with the colleagues from Rauma and colleagues in terms of students. The first time we did this was about 3 years ago, and then we decided to do it in teams per university. So we didn't mingle the teams. We did that last year, and that was great success, we think, for the students. We got nice feedback from them, but we also saw that they worked a lot together, despite of the whole COVID issue. They just used this type of communication using Microsoft Teams or Skype or whatever they used to prepare the decisions in let's say, teams mixed from students from Finland and the Netherlands. And it were not only Finnish and Dutch students, they were all over the world, from Vietnam, from, well, just name the countries they were, let's say, represented. They really experience working together in a management team, making decisions every week, because we spread the 6 rounds of the game during a part of the semester. So in both situations, it was a semester course. In Finland, it was called supply chain management. In the Netherlands, it was called supply chain finance. The students, they participated in the game from their courses, and they also got their credits, of course, at their home university. And that was our, let's say, experience in doing that together. And Daniela Tanua and I, we met during FLA meetings, so there it naturally was created more or less, the initiative. And that was an important, let's say, platform to meet, to know each other, because you know each other for a few years. And this was the first big project we did together. We are open for, let's say, colleagues that would like to join. Even if you are from Brazil, then the students have to cope with time differences, which is also part of international business, you know. So international business is not only very convenient in your own time zone, but, well, you have to think about, well, I suppose now early morning somewhere in Brazil, and maybe late in the evening somewhere in Hong Kong, or well, whatever place in Southeast Asia. And already the difference of 1 hour between Arnhem and Sanf was already causing a lot of, let's say, communication problems. At the end, they solved it, but they had to get used to it, to be aware of the fact that we were in different time zones. So this experiential learning, learning by doing, is not only about the content, but also about how you organize things, how you work together. That would be my introduction for maybe a discussion or questions.
I don't see anything on the chat specifically. Anybody have any comments, thoughts, additional questions? Well, Vanina is saying, how does the game work with a study case? Involving company problems. Can you unmute yourself and explain further, Vanina?
Maybe you switch on your microphone.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Hi.
So, Professor Jan, I'd like to know how do you operate in this kind of game involving different universities? You work with a study case of a company, a real company with a real problem, and the students need to solve it, or you propose not real problem, but they also need to work on it.
Well, there are a few possibilities. Of course, you can have a project with a real firm, but then you're not playing really a serious game. So we use a serious game as a vehicle for doing such a project. So the serious game is in fact a company. And the company is producing products in the field of perfume and stuff like that. And they have some severe problems. And those severe problems are in the supply chain and in how the working capital is managed in the supply chain. And that's in a nutshell where the game is all about. Of course, it's a bit more complex, as you can understand. It fitted in the course of Daniela Tanua in Finland in her supply chain management course, where she also dealt with some financial aspects. And I had a course running called Supply Chain Finance, where it really fitted perfectly in. And we both at the end graded our students according our, let's say, own rules. And that makes it very easy to establish that. Are you familiar with the Cool Connection?
Familiar with what? Sorry?
Are you familiar with the serious game called the Cool Connection?
No.
Okay. Well, then I have to tell you a little bit more about that. There are, in the company, there are 4 management team roles. You have the procurement officer, you have the supply chain management officer, which is a kind of logistics manager. You have the finance officer, and you have the sales and marketing officer. And all 4, they have to work together and to solve the problem in the company. And the company is having a lot of problems with the return on investment. So they make loss. And they have also a lot of problems with their suppliers, with their clients, and with their warehouse. So it's really a mess where the students are, let's say, getting in. And they have to solve the problem step by step. And during the game, they get more, let's say, instruments to use. There are a few levels in the game. We start with a relatively simple level, and we start, of course, with a more high-level system. But then we would also like to implement some supply chain finance instruments. And not to be too technical, there are some supply chain finance instruments that, let's say, are very beneficiary for the suppliers. So they get early payment. And then, of course, their liquidity gets better, and then they are happy and they give us discounts. And well, if you remember the first slide when I calculated the year, I was calculating the effective annual rate, how much it would save you or how much it would cost you if you use such a, let's say, system.
Yeah, actually, my colleague Kirill made a really interesting comment for you, Vanina. He says if you would like to have an introduction to Cool Connection, he's hosting a session later today, and essentially I believe you'll get to play a little bit of the Cool Connection. I'm not sure how your session.
Yeah, it will be a scripted gameplay, so not quite as Jan described it, where you play, make the decisions yourself. It will be more the decisions are made for you in a kind of a script, and then you get to see the effects, and it gives you a bit of a feeling of what the game, how it looks like, and what it does, and what sort of the cause and effect relationships you see. Of course, in a very short time frame and a limited scale. But at least it will give you an idea.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to participate.
Yeah.
Kiro, there's another question that maybe you can answer.
So Jan is asking, can you train the teachers or give them the opportunity to play so that they can teach students? Yeah, so we do provide train the trainer courses, both in a self-paced format. So where you do an e-learning course and get to know the basics of the game, but also play it yourself. And actually we don't provide licenses for you to play with students unless you've been trained, and because it's important to ensure that you are comfortable running the game with the students in order to make sure that you have a good experience with it and also the students have a good experience with it. And we also have a live training, so they're done online in a webinar format, which you can join and play yourself. And of course, if you ever need just a couple of practice rounds for yourself to check it out and play it, that's also available.
Yeah, I think this kind of wraps up our session with Jan.
Maybe I have a small remark at the end.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Inspired, of course, by Kirill. When I started with this game, I had a first course in supply chain finance, and I wrote down my experiences in an article. And maybe that article is useful to have a look at it as an educator, because it's about the curriculum. It's about how you examine the results of the game, because at the end you have to, well, to make, of course, a grade and give that to somebody of the administration. And this is available also on ResearchGate. So if you go to the ResearchGate URL for the article of Nienke, you can also go to the same, let's say, section where you'll find my article about the supply chain finance course. If you don't find it, feel free to contact me.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And here's his contact info. Well, the secretaries. If anyone has any questions, make sure you get them in now, or please move forward to the next session. Thanks so much, Jan.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.